Hello, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving. It is our first special show on Matt and Sheryl's Gen Excellent playlist. I'm Matt.
I'm Sheryl.
So, the theme of our Thanksgiving show, we're going to pick 4 songs that have thank or a derivation of the word thank in the title. And this is the first of what we think are going to be many, what I call Mount Rushmore shows. So, we're going to pick 4 of something on a theme every now and then and do a special show that kind of diverges from the building of our playlist, which has now reached the year 1977. So for the 4 songs we're choosing today, we've got one from 1970, one from 75. Thank the Lord for the Nighttime. That is late 60s. What year did that come out?
67, actually.
67. So Neil Diamond's song from late 60s, and then another one from mid-late 70s. But a lot of people will know this song from its appearance in a popular 80s sitcom.
Yep.
So why don't we start with Neil? Thank the Lord for the Nighttime.
My thank you song is Thank the Lord for the Nighttime by Neil Diamond. Recorded in 1967. I mean, there might be a lot of people that don't realize where Neil started. And he actually started out as a writer in the Brill Building alongside people like Carole King and Neil Sedaka, Burt Bacharach. His first successful single was for Jay and the Americans. Well, it was like a top 20 hit. And then he wrote I'm a Believer for the Monkees. And that was his huge first really big success as a songwriter. That one and A Little Bit Me, A Little Bit You was also a hit for them. He wrote 2 other songs for the Monkees that were on albums, but they weren't like really big songs for them. Most of his songs were being recorded by other people before he was able to record them himself and put them on his albums. So he was on Bang Records. And those early hits like Cherry Cherry, Kentucky Woman, which was covered by Deep Purple.
Yes. And I actually have that album, the Just For You album on Bang Records, which was our Neil Diamond's first LP. It's basically like a greatest hits album. It's just a collection of...
Pretty much every song on that album was either released as an A or a B single.
Right. Yeah. Great record.
Yeah. And actually, there is a classics collection, and every song is great. Yeah. I mean, every song. Solitary Man...
And you can't get that. You can't get that record as it was originally recorded. It's never been released on CD either.
His first two albums were never on CD. So Thank the Lord for the Nighttime it has Lord in the title, so you can probably tell just by the title that it's a gospel feel.
And I think every time a popular artist has recorded a single with God or Lord they've had management and advisors say, Don't do this.
Don't do
this. People are going to think it's a Christian song or it's a gospel song.
It would definitely alienate some people, I would imagine. Yeah. I don't know if this is really one of his more popular early songs. Like probably a lot of people haven't even heard this song, but it's a cool rocker.
Sure.
It's got, the...
Well, obviously he had a great love for gospel music and he wanted to perform songs in that vein. It was probably a little controversial. I mean, the Jewish Elvis doing, like Southern gospel music. But yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, it's sincere. It's sincere.
It is. It is. He was influenced by that. He was, inspired. He had another song, Brother Loves Travel and Salvation Show, that was even way more over the top in that vein.
And you must find the Johnny Cash Show clip of Neil Diamond performing that. Neil Diamond went on the Johnny Cash Show, which is maybe the greatest of the late 60s, early 70s music shows that presented live music.
Yeah.
On that Johnny Cash Show, he's up on stage. There's no band behind him. There's no backing singers to kind of hold the band. He's playing with a live band accompaniment, but it's like a pit orchestra on that show. But this is just Neil up there he's going to glory, baby. He is up there. He's
preaching
he has got the Holy Ghost Spirit. I mean, he is going to town. And it's slightly uncomfortable to watch, but at the same time, all respect due for a completely committed performer. And that's how he got huge. I mean, he had all these hits that he wrote for others and recorded himself, but he really reached that highest plateau as his live reputation developed.
Oh,
he became a huge live draw.
Yeah.
For decades.
But his voice, though, I mean, really, And when you watch those live performances like Brother Love Traveling Salvage Show or all these early hits that he had, and including Thank the Lord for the Nighttime, his voice is really cool. And it does really lend itself well to those songs. Yeah, I think that's where he really started kind of honing his performance persona. I saw another live thing with him doing Brother Love's Traveling Salvation Show where he talks about how he was in Mississippi and he was watching these preachers and he was like, just really inspired by it. And that must have kind of crept into his whole idea of as a performer, like this is a performance
that's quite possible. Yeah.
And then he just kind of kept going with that.
The thing about gospel music and gospel music performances, it's supposed to be a transcendent experience. I mean, it's supposed to just lift you out of your body and carry you away. And these performers get completely caught up in what they're doing and just lay it all out there. Maybe that did feed into his live stage show in general and lifted him up as a performer. But I think Neil Diamond, there's a real connection with our generation because I think a lot of our parents had those records when we were growing up. And then when we were in college or in kind of that turn of the 90s era, the Urge Overkill cover of Girl, You'll Be a Woman. And he's used to that in the Tarantino film Pulp Fiction. That just... Again, just lift,
that's kind of one of those examples where it's kind of like we were talking about the Carpenters with Superstar and Sonic Youth. It brought an artist into the current day and with the song that people probably hadn't really ever heard because that was a song from his early days, that a lot of people weren't familiar with.
I think that was a really important record, that Urge Overkill cover, because there's this irony there for people like Neil Diamond, like, oh, I know it's not cool, but I don't care. And there you go. Urge Overkill's like, not cool? Check this out. He's plenty cool.
That's what I think.
And his early stuff is cool. Solitary Man, that's a cool ass record.
Yes.
Cherry, that's a great rock. The one I always forget about is Red Wine. That was Neil Diamond's song.
Neil Diamond's song that UB40 had a huge hit with. Yep.
Deep Purple covered Kentucky Woman. I think that's pretty cool.
It is.
Rock the hell out of that.
Yeah.
No, I like Neil. There's good Neil in all eras. I think most Neil Diamond fans like him the whole way through. They like his 60s, 70s, and 80s stuff. You might have a preferred era. And I would definitely, my preferred era would definitely be those original Bang hits in the 60s.
Yeah,
But there's great songs all throughout.
He left Bang because he wanted to kind of go more in that singer-songwriter introspective feel. And they were pushing him, away from that because he had hit records for them. And he wanted to release Shiloh as a single and they didn't want him to. And once it was released, it actually did become a hit. But then that's when he kind of started going into more mellow or rock vein.
Yeah. And let's be honest, hit or miss. There was a lot of cheese. There was a lot of cheese too. There's a smattering of great hit singles all throughout that era. Cracklin' Rosie is what I've always loved that. A lot of people think that's cheesy and corny. It's just a fun, catchy song. How can you not get up and sing or clap along to that one?
Look how big Sweet Caroline became too. That's like...
Yeah, a lot of cheesy stuff.
Great. He wrote some great songs.
Very
really, like just taking those first years, 5 or 6 like great songs. And there were hits for him and other people.
He got uncool because there's no irony in his music. Everything is just passionate and sincere and heart on sleeve. And like I said, as a performer, he is out there. He is just exposing himself.
He recorded that album, maybe it was like 10 years ago now with Rick Rubin, around the same time Johnny Cash did. It's got some really, really cool stuff on it. But Rick Rubin reeled him in, he kept him grounded and he basically told him no cheese, no cheese allowed. And, he kept him on track, which I think that once Neil kind of went in that direction and he was having big, huge hits and a huge live draw, that he just kept continuing in that vein and veering even more so in that way because it was working for him.
Right. It's the Mike Love line. Don't F with the formula, right?
Yeah. But, his album sales in the 80s, like early 80s, started just dropping off to near nothing. But he still was such a huge concert draw that it didn't matter. He wasn't even recording albums anymore. Kind of feels a little bit like he's sort of just started resting on his laurels. If he started doing that like in the early 80s, I think, but still was such a huge concert draw. That didn't seem like it was really happening that much back then.
I'm trying to think of what his last big radio
think-
hit was.
I think it
Heart
was
Light?
Turn On Your Heart Light. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That was after America, right? Yeah. So
That came out in
'cause that,
82, I think.
right. Because that came out around the same time as E.T. and kind of referred to the.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And he didn't have
Yeah.
another hit
I
after
wasn't.
that. He had one
I
other
wasn't.
album that was like
Yeah.
grazed the bottom of the charts, but then that was it.
Yeah. It kind of got quiet pretty quickly for Neil.
But he never lost his appeal
again,
as
another
a live draw. He was still a huge live draw all the way up until just not, until he basically stopped performing.
Good time to transition to our next song because this artist and his group, I think, put on one of the greatest recorded live performances of all time at Woodstock, and that's Sly and the Family Stone. I think their performance at Woodstock is the highlight of the show for me, and there are a lot of great performances in that movie, but I've never seen a band burn up the stage like Sly and the Family Stone. That breakdown where they go into that horn like da 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 da, and he's dancing all around the stage. That is one of the most uplifting, transcendent, energetic, coolest bits of music I've ever heard in my life. Incredible group, incredibly influential. And at the end of 1969, they were on an absolute high, pun very much intended.
Mm-hmm.
They'd recorded the Stand LP, which was a big hit, several hit singles off that record, including Hot Fun in the Summertime, which hit number one during the summer of 69. They knock him dead at Woodstock in August of that year. And then at the tail end of 69, they release a double A-side single, Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again, and Everybody's a Star on the flip side. So already there's trouble brewing in the group. They're developing this reputation for missing shows, Sly in particular, not showing up for concerts. And at this point in time, they're one of the top concert draws in the United States. They are one of the hottest groups going. And Sly's having problems. He's gotten heavy into drugs, the resulting paranoia from that. He's getting pressure from all sides. The thing that made one of the many things that made Sly and the Family Stone unique was the integrated nature of the group. White and black performers, male and female performers, all making significant contributions. And it is truly a family band. His brother Freddie is the guitarist, his sister Rose, one of the backing singers and keyboardist. The rest of the band would be Larry Graham on the bass. And of course, the song we're going to talk about is most known for his performance on that record. The drummer is white. His name is Greg Errico. Excellent drummer, laying down a heavy fatback beat. And then you got the horn section, Jerry Martini, the white male sax player, Cynthia Robinson, black female trumpet player. So you got a mix of white and black, male and female in this group. There really wasn't anything like it at that time. And also a diverse musical palette, bringing in black influences, rock, soul, psychedelic music, gospel, and this burgeoning sound that was funk music. They were on the leading edge of that. James Brown, the godfather of soul, pretty much the creator of funk, but Sly kind of refined that, put some polish on it for a pop audience, and took it to the next level. Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself is about as funky as it gets. It's a one-chord song. It's all about that groove and that pop and bass from Larry Graham, who kind of patented the style of slap bass. You really first hear, he's not the first one ever to do it, but the first one to do it in a way that millions of people heard it on a big hit record. And it was a big hit record. Number one soul, number one pop in early 1970. Sadly, it would be the last thing Sly and the Family Stone did for more than a year and a half. They released no new music. And nowadays, it wouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah.
Back then, you're expected to deliver at least an album a year, if not 2 or 3 albums a year to the record company. So not only are they missing shows, they're not producing any new music either. Now, I've known this song for a while. And I've loved it for a long time. And there's a whole list of songs that I think fall into this category. Songs that most music fans will be familiar with and could probably sing along to the chorus. But when it comes to the verses, almost nobody can sing along. And I'd never thought of this as one of those songs, but I pulled up the lyrics and I'm like, God, I don't know this song at all. I really don't. There's only a couple of lines in the verses that I had picked up on from hearing it however many, 50, 100 times I've heard it before. The chorus, of course, I want to thank you for letting me be myself. Now, if you've never seen the title of the song spelled out, and this is kind of funny, I remember, I'd known about Sly Stone since I was a little kid, all the hit songs he had. I didn't know this. This isn't one that you like heard on the radio a lot until later. But I remember seeing the title in print, and I didn't get it. The parenthetical part, I was like, what the hell is that?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Falettinme, be myself, Agin.
Yeah, the Agin part is what's odd to me.
Yeah, seeing that in print, I never picked up on what that was about. And then you hear the song, it's like, oh, I get it. He's just having fun with the spelling, phonetically spelling it out in a different way. Now it's a dance floor killer. It's a banger. But looking at those verses, those lyrics, it's dark. I've looked at a lot of sources just trying to divulge the meaning of this song or what people's takes are on the meaning, or if Sly has come out and talked about. I've never read any. I don't even know if there really are any biographies about Sly Stone. He's remarkably still alive. One of those guys that must have incredible genes, because he was a heavy drug addict for decades. I think for a while he was essentially homeless, like living in a van parked on the side of the road, and a millionaire several times over with several huge hit songs, multiple number one hits, hit albums, one of the biggest concert draws in the world, and just got so deep down in drug addiction. And so it was a year and a half before any new music came out, and then they finally released, late 1971, the There's a Ride Going On album. And if you were used to Sly Stone, if you were a fan of Sly Stone, it had to be kind of rough going listening to that album for the first time, because this band that was so vibrant and energetic and positive message, peace and love, racial harmony. And this album is dank. It is dirty. It is depressing. It is down. It's funky as hell. It's primarily self-recorded, but it is a completely different vibe to what they'd been putting out in the 1960s. It was received well, and it has been considered a classic for many years, but it's a sharp left turn from the uplifting music they've been putting out in the 1960s. But you go down the lyrics of the song, particularly the last verse: flaming eyes of people fear burning into you. Many men are missing much, hating what they do. Youth and truth are making love. Dig it for a starter. Dying young is hard to take. Selling out is harder. So that's kind of the note that he left off on and disappeared for a year and a half. And I don't know how many people really picked up on the lyrics. I think, like me, a lot of people got into the groove. They hit the dance floor. They sang along to the chorus. I don't know how many people heard the verses. But here's a guy who was very troubled, under immense amounts of pressure, and struggling with it. Not only the pressure from the record company to deliver new product, but political pressure from the black community. And Jimi Hendrix went through the same thing at the same time, late 60s, early 70s, from the Black Panthers. Like Sly was pressured to be more militant with his message. He was pressured to dump the white people out of his band, bring in a black drummer and a black horn player to replace Errico and Martini. So he's getting that pressure. He's struggling to come up with new stuff for the record company. He's struggling to meet his obligations, touring and get to the shows, and all his problems being exacerbated by this heavy drug use. And it's really one of the great tragedies in music. He never really came back from it. They released one more album that has some cool stuff on it, Fresh, in late 73, 74 when that came out. Kind of his valedictory message, I think, is on that album with If You Want Me to Stay. I think that's kind of a confessional with all the struggles he's going through, and he's kind of opening himself up. It's kind of a raw nerve. After that, not much of consequence coming out of Sly Stone, sadly. One of the great, great musical talents. And I'll say it again, that Woodstock performance, I have never seen a better live performance than that.
I'll have to go back and watch that again. I haven't watched it in a really long time.
Yeah, so you got the movie segment. It's about 10 minutes worth, maybe 12 minutes worth total. But there you can get the whole Woodstock show. I think you can get it on a CD. You can look it up on YouTube. They're just sizzling, start to finish. Just an incredible, incredible live performance. Sadly, a lot of people were denied the opportunity to see Sly in his prime because he just could not get his ass up on the stage.
Now, did he record some solo albums too, like later in the 70s? And
Yeah, he did some stuff with George Clinton, kind of the end of the 70s, early 80s. And a lot of people have tried to get him back on the track. But,
yeah,
the sad thing about it is when you see Sly Stone on those rare occasions that he does show up publicly, he's a real bright guy, very eloquent guy, and he seems to be together.
yeah.
But it's an enigma. He's very much an enigma.
But he gave us a thank you song.
Yes, he did, and one of the great thank you songs. So you're listening to our Thanksgiving special. This is Matt and Sheryl's Gen Excellent playlist, and we'll go back to you, Sheryl. Your other thanks song came out in the 70s, but most of our generation discovered this song in the 80s.
In the 80s, it came out in 77. Artist named Andrew Gold, who worked as a session musician with, in fact, Linda Ronstadt was one that he worked with quite a bit. He wrote several songs for Heart Like a Wheel.
Her cover of You're No Good, which is one of my favorite Linda Ronstadt tracks. He's all over that one. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I found a couple really good live performances from the era. And he does the long guitar solo at the end and the backup vocals, and probably my favorite song of hers, actually.
Yeah, one of the great cover songs ever.
Yeah. Yeah, so he worked with her a lot. He toured with Jackson Browne. He toured with the Eagles. This song came out in 77. It wasn't a big hit. It was it was in a top 40 hit, but not, this huge number one single or anything like that at the time. I don't even think I've told you what the song is yet.
You haven't.
It's Thank You for Being a Friend.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. So, I mean, definitely a song you'd hear on the radio, though. It is, it's a 70s staple radio song. He had another hit that was a bigger hit, actually, called Lonely Boy, that came out in 78. That one fared better in the charts. But once the 80s came around, Thank You for Being a Friend was re-recorded and became the theme song for the Golden Girls. Of course, when I hear the song now, I can only hear the Golden Girls version in my head. I think even if it hadn't been for the Golden Girls, it's been in other movies. It has definitely worked its way into pop culture just because, it's just such a great message. It's just like a nice
positive
message. When they recorded this song, it was kind of just a throwaway song. Like he says he wrote it in like an hour. It was one of those like, I guess he had a tune rattling around in his head and threw the lyrics together and put it on the album and didn't really expect it to be anything. And, it was a minor hit, but it just took on a whole new life with the Golden Girls. And not only is the song itself a positive message, but I think when you equate it with Betty White or anything with her, it just elevates it up to a whole other level that is, another feel-good level.
What is it with I think our generation is really responsible for kind of putting Betty White up
putting her up on a pedestal.
Godhead stat. I mean, not that she doesn't deserve it, but something about her really resonated with our generation. It couldn't have just been the Golden Girls.
I think it was just because she was working at such an elderly age. She was still working up in her 90s and still doing it. Yeah. Sharp as a tack and funny and, very like edgy. So I think that that's something that people our age or maybe like older can look at her and think, boy, I want to be like that when I'm in my 90s,
Well, when she hosted Saturday Night Live, and that was a classic episode, there had been a crusade for years, I think. And again, I think it's people from our generation were kind of behind that, pushing to get her on there.
Well, I think from the Golden Girls, she's beloved. Initially she was on Mary Tyler Moore, which I saw her in reruns, on that show. But the Golden Girls, everybody loves her character. And that's why that song is so perfect for that. It seems like it was written for the show, really.
That show, I didn't watch it at the time when it was on during its initial run. I've probably seen it 6 to 8 episodes in my life. It's really good. It's really funny.
So funny.
The writing is fantastic. It's hilarious.
And they tackle like serious subjects too. I watched it when it was on, and then I went back and watched the entire series. And yes, it's very entertaining. It's super well written. Bea Arthur is incredible. All of them are. They acting and the Estelle Getty, who plays the the mom, who's actually younger than them in real life.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, they're all just great actresses. The writing is great, and like I said, they really tackled a lot of issues that were very serious and cutting edge at the time. It's a great show.
Yeah, you're right about the four of them, all very talented comedians, and there's a lot of parallels between music and comedy. I think great comedy is all about timing. You have to have
Mhm.
you have to have perfect timing to really make comedy sing. And those four ladies all had it.
And they work so well together too. Think of that ensemble cast. It's kind of like a band, like how everybody has their own talents that shine. And, that if they can all work together, like it really makes something special.
But yeah, thank you for being a friend. That's a classic 70s tune with a positive message. And I think that leads into our final song too, which is John Denver's "Thank God I'm a Country Boy." That came out in 70. I think he put it on an album, a studio version in 74, and then a live version was released as a single in 75, and that hit the top of the charts. And this is when John Denver was really peaking in popularity. Not overall popularity necessarily, but record sales. He had 4 number one songs in a 2-year span, 74, 75. A run that started with "Sunshine on My Shoulder." Great song.
I love that song.
Annie's song, "Thank God I'm a Country Boy," the live version, and then "I'm Sorry." So John Denver, wholesome family entertainment, dominated media during the 70s. Hit records, lots of TV specials. Not only his TV specials, but he would show up on all kinds of other stuff.
He hosted like the Grammys.
Right? I think 5 times. 5 times
Yeah.
he hosted the Grammy. He was a guest host on The Tonight Show. Did you know that? He was one of the guest hosts that Johnny Carson called upon. So his career dates back to the 60s, came out of the folk scene, kind of the pop folk scene. He was in a group called the Chad Mitchell Trio. And when I say the pop folk scene, I'm talking about the kind of bands that were lampooned in A Mighty Wind, the great Christopher Guest comedy, that kind of folk music. So he actually replaced Chad Mitchell in the Chad Mitchell Trio. The funny thing about that was I think the band continued as the Chad Mitchell Trio for a couple of years, even though Chad Mitchell was no longer a part of the group. They eventually dropped that. And then he eventually went off on his own at the end of the 60s. He wrote the song "Leaving on a Jet Plane." And his manager also happened to manage Peter, Paul, and Mary, got the song in front of them. They cut it. Had a big hit record, transatlantic smash hit record, number 1 in the U.S., number 2 in England. And that's kind of set the stage for John Denver to begin his solo career. Didn't take off right away. Had released a couple of solo albums, and then he had his first hit record in 71 with "Take Me Home, Country Roads." That song now is essentially the state song of the state of West Virginia, which is, Shenandoah River.
West Virginia.
Flows through there.
Mountain Mama. Yeah.
And how impressive is it that John Denver has not one, and I don't know that they are the official state songs, but "Take Me Home, Country Roads" for West Virginia, and then "Rocky Mountain High" has been basically adopted as the state song for Colorado.
That's true, yeah.
Maybe his best song, 73, I think it was a hit. Not a number 1, but a top 10, big hit for him. He was inspired by a camping trip in the Rockies to write that, and then he built a home in Aspen and kept that home for the rest of his life. He passed away, most people know, in a plane accident. He was an avid pilot and was flying kind of a test plane, and things went wrong, and he crashed into Monterey Bay. So yeah, state song for West Virginia and for Colorado. So he's already riding high. He's a major artist by the time "Thank God I'm a Country Boy" comes out. He didn't write that song. It was written by one of his backing musicians, one of his string players. Can't remember the guy's first name, last name Summer. But Denver, he was a military brat. His father was an Air Force pilot. The family moved around a lot. He was born in New Mexico, but bounced around a lot of different places, lived in the South, in Montgomery, Alabama. He went to high school in Fort Worth, Texas, actually graduated high school in Fort Worth, Texas. And as a young performer, kind of started out in Texas before his career took off. So he has kind of country roots. I think his father lived out the rest of his life on a family farm in Oklahoma. And he spent a lot of time on that farm as a youth, his grandparents' farm. So he felt real close to country music and country ways and country living, especially. I mean, he was very politically active, as most people know, especially for environmental causes. But the song "Thank God I'm a Country Boy" is basically about the joys of a simple, uncluttered country life. And it's, again, another song with a very positive message. Now, John Denver was a guy that music critics hated, people who were into,
Mhm.
The heavy rock music of the day. He was an object of derision, but he was extremely popular, crossed over to a huge audience. And you have to respect, and I felt this way for a long time. I believe it is way, way easier to write a sad song, a good sad song, or a good angry song than it is to write a good happy song. It is really hard to write a song that has a positive message and a happy feeling to it without coming off real cheesy. And a lot of people say, well, yeah, John Denver was cheesy. No, John Denver wrote a lot of great songs. He was
Yeah.
he was a fabulous performer, great singer, excellent
Mhm.
guitarist, had a wonderful way with a melody. And Thank God I'm a Country Boy is a song that's dear to me because that's something that was played on the turntable at the Rickard House from when it came out, essentially. That was part of the soundtrack of my youth, something that my dad would have played the record, and my sister and I, we heard a lot of John Denver, but that was the song that got you, when I was a kid,
And you could sing to it. You could really
sing
sing to it.
And I truly believe this, Sheryl. The key line of that song is in the chorus. Got
Yeah.
me a fine wife, got me old fiddle. Sun's coming up. I got cakes on the
Cakes
griddle.
on the griddle.
Pancakes. Anything that talks
Every
about
kid loves
pancakes.
pancakes.
Oh my God. What kid doesn't love pancakes? And the fact that he's singing about pancakes, that was just the coolest thing to me.
Got cakes on the griddle. Yep. Life ain't nothing but a funny, funny riddle.
Thank God I'm a country boy. No, that's great chorus.
That was in heavy rotation at my house. We had most of John Denver's albums, and he and Neil Diamond, the more 70s and 80s Neil Diamond, were the albums that my mom, were her, that was the music she liked. And so really most of my early childhood, that's all we had in the house was John Denver and Neil Diamond. So yeah, that was definitely a big song and album for me as a kid. Great sing-along song. And I get what you're saying about the feel good without coming across as being cheesy. And that's always kind of the whole idea and myth around songwriting, is that you have to be in a pretty dark place to be able to really write like great songs. And I mean, John Denver went to dark places, that's for sure.
That's a lot.
Not necessarily in his songwriting, but in his life. And
he had some difficult marriages, somewhat abusive.
Yeah.
He had struggles with alcohol. In fact,
Yep.
he should not have been in that plane when he died. He technically was not authorized to fly at all because he couldn't stay off the sauce. He'd got it.
Mhm.
He had a couple of DUIs, and part of the resolution of that second DUI was he had to completely abstain from alcohol, which he did not, and they took away his pilot's license. But there he was, still flying this dangerous homemade plane. He was not under the influence when he died. That had nothing to do with it. It was,
but he didn't have a license, a pilot's license,
right?
Yeah,
and it was a tricky plane. It was a deal. He was running low on fuel and trying to switch the fuel tank apparently, and it was the way it was rigged up. He kind of had to contort his body to see the gauges and reach the switch that switched the fuel tanks, and in doing so, apparently with his foot hit the rudder and caused the plane to yaw and pitch and go out of control, and couldn't recover from it. So it's just a fluky accident because of the odd design of the plane. It had nothing to do with substances or anything like that. But and Denver really endeared himself to our generation when we were kids because of his appearances on the Muppet Show and the Muppet Show specials.
And Muppet Christmas. Yeah. They did a whole the Muppet Christmas special featuring John. And I mean, we had the John Denver and the Muppets Christmas album, and that was one of my favorite Christmas albums.
Yeah. And I still think for a lot of people our age and our families, I think that's still a big part of the holidays is watching that.
Mm-hmm. He's got a song on the Rocky Mountain High album called Prisoners, and it's a really cool song. It's a great song, but it's about prisoners of war coming back. And like, I think we talked at one point about songs that you just can't hear without crying. That's one of them.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. It is so moving. And it's a really good song.
It's funny.
And I always liked that song. It's the last song on the album.
Funny you bring that up because just before we recorded, I was upstairs watching the first part of his 1975 TV special after Thank God I'm a Country Boy was a hit. At the beginning of the special, he's got three guys backing him up musically. He's got Roger Miller, who's playing a fiddle, and I didn't know that Roger Miller was a fiddler. Johnny Cash playing guitar behind him, and Glenn Campbell is playing the banjo. So the first thing he does is Thank God I'm a Country Boy with those guys, and then they do Rocky Top, which is probably my favorite country song. And that's a song that if I'm driving around and it comes on, I have to sing, and I can't sing that song without getting choked up. I love that song. Love that song so much. But Rocky Top, it's a similar theme. It's about country living and about, the city folks, climbing up looking for the moonshine still, and nobody's seen them since. Like the city folks coming out to the country, getting a taste of country living and never turning back. And the end of that song is talking about, I've had enough of cramped up city life, trapped like a duck in a pen. Isn't it a shame or ain't it a pity? Life can't be simple again. That's the same theme as Thank God I'm a Country Boy, really the exact same theme.
Simple living.
And the same theme to 1,000 other country songs. But those are two of the best songs that express that theme.
Yeah. And I wasn't really exposed to country music. I still have not been exposed to much country music, but that's, they got, the fiddles going on back there. It's a hoedown.
Yep. And there's the lyrics are pretty self-explanatory. There's one line that most people might not get, and that is it's a reference to a old fiddle tune. So I'd play Sally Gooden all day if I could, but the Lord and my wife wouldn't take it very good. So I fiddle when I can and I work when I should. Thank God I'm a country boy. So Sally Gooden is an old fiddle tune that you'd hear at a square dance, and the fiddle solo in "Thank God I'm a Country Boy" is actually it's the tune to Sally Gooden.
Oh, okay.
So that's what that's in reference to. Everything else in the song pretty much explains itself. Country living's the best. We don't need no jewels. We don't need no black limousine, even though it's pretty keen. We don't need no black limousine.
Even though he could buy all that because he's a wealthy man.
Yeah, he made a buck or two. He made a buck or two between multiple number one songs, best-selling albums, TV specials, movie starring roles. Oh God, that was a hit movie.
Oh God, that's right. Oh God, with George Burns. Yep.
Yeah, John Denver. John Denver basically could have lived wherever he wanted and probably could buy a small city and an island if he wanted to. But there you go.
Thank God he's a country boy.
Thank God he's a country boy. And thank God he left us that great song. And thank you to all four of those artists for giving us four great songs for our Thanksgiving special. John Denver with Thank God I'm a Country Boy. Sly and the Family Stone, thank you for letting me be myself again. Andrew Gold with Thank You for Being a Friend. And Neil Diamond, thank the Lord for the nighttime, our Mount Rushmore of thank songs for Thanksgiving. And thank you all for joining us in our Thanksgiving special. We hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family and loved ones. I know we will.